I'm excited to start this because there are so many other survivalists that want to do this as well. I've been kind of bragging about it, how excited I am to talk to you guys out there who support me and a ton of other survivors. This has been a wonderful experience, and this is definitely not my last adventure, which I'm smiling and I can't say anything else, but except for, yeah, I look forward to your guys' questions, and let's get this started.
Let's go ahead and start introducing ourselves.
All right. Well, my name is Mark. I've been a huge fan of Naked and Afraid. Amber, I was also born and raised in Colorado, so you were one of my favorite survivors and I'm survivalist. So I live pretty close to where you guys did your fundraiser for Michelle's place, a few miles from Temecula. So it's just amazing that our paths cross a little bit, but you rock. You're one of my favorite, and it's an honor to be here.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Okay, next.
Oh.
All right, my name's Kevin. I'm from New Jersey. Somebody else mentioned Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. I've been watching since season 1, and I'm just a huge fan, and I'm super excited to be lucky to be chosen to be here.
I'm Sharon. I'm born and raised in New Jersey, but I live in New York now, and I also used to live in Oregon.
I'm Stephanie. I'm an admin, and we're doing this for the first time. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I am Matt. I'm also one of the admins here from Arizona. Super stoked to have you. Amber, this is awesome. This should be really cool. We're excited to do this for the first time.
And I'm Rich. I'm from Huntington Beach and glad to be here and with a legend like Amber. That's awesome.
I can't stop smiling. My face is going to hurt by the time we're done, I swear.
Hi, Amber. I'm Anna Laura. We're from California, and I'm a high school teacher of girls for the past 24 years. And you're such a great inspiration, I think, for women, and especially the young women that I work with. So I'm excited to hear more from you today and just get some great inspiration that I can share with them, as well as myself, being an avid watcher of the show and of the journey. And
I'm Jocelyn, and I'm 11 years old, and I'm very excited to be here as well.
Oh.
Yeah, my mom loves this show so much that even on our walks sometimes she will see a lizard and she will literally shout, "Food sword!"
I love that. I love it.
That's what got us started. We're happy to be here.
That's the show. I'm Abigail. I'm 13 and we're from Pennsylvania, and I'm a huge fan of you, Amber. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm Belinda. I'm from Illinois, and it's just so awesome to meet you.
Thank you, Belinda, for being here. This is great. And then we got Miss Savannah.
Hi, Amber. I'm Savannah. I'm originally from Long Beach, which is SoCal, but now I live in the Bay Area. I'm a nurse here, and I am just so honored to see you. I watch your naked butt every week on Naked and Afraid, and I never imagined that I'd be able to talk to you and tell you how much you kick ass.
Thank you so much, Savannah. That was a rough one. That's all I gotta say. And Monica.
Hi, Miss Monica. I am from Mexico. I am very, very happy to be here. I am a very avid show watcher. But Amber, I just want to tell you, you are my favorite female survivalist. And the show that you had from 2015 on your first episode to now, it's impressive. I'm just in awe of you.
Oh, thank you so much. That is I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for saying that. That means so much to me, you guys.
My name is Jeannie. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I'm here in Florida now, Jacksonville. I got here 30-something years ago when I got stationed in the Navy out here. Been out here forever. I've been a fan of Naked and Afraid for probably the last 3 years. And Amber, you rock. I'm so thrilled I'm on this chat with you. I mean, it's just amazing what you did out there. I'm so impressed with everything you've done. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service as well, sister.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited about meeting everybody and talking about everything. I gotta say, I was incredibly nervous on my live feed. I haven't got a chance to even express any of my feelings or emotions, you know. I mean, I get emotional too, watching everything unfold in front of me. And sometimes it's really hard and sad. And sometimes I cry watching it. I feel like a baby, but the truth is, relating to the show and then obviously firsthand experiencing it is hard watching yourself on TV be so vulnerable to so much, especially when I'm naked on top of it. So, Monica, go.
Thank you very much. Such an honor. I just wanted to ask about the wings on your back. I think I didn't see them on the first season. Were they there?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm wearing a tank top, but I will show you my wings on my back so people can see. Because sometimes it's hard to see my tattoos, but I have huge wings. Well, it's kind of hard to see still, I apologize, but they go all down my back.
I
And
absolutely love them. I was wondering if there's a story behind them.
well, yes, actually. I went to combat my first tour. And when I came home, I was really struggling with a little bit of PTSD from Iraq. And I started to do research on spirit animals and try to figure out meditation and prayer to help center me. And I came across an American eagle being my spirit animal. And I decided to do some drawings of wings of them. And I went to an artist and he said, I would love to put these on your back. This would be great. But he didn't tell me it would be 22 hours of work. And they're beautiful, but they were painful. I'll tell you that.
But worth it.
Yeah, they're worth it because they look gorgeous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have a second tattoo that is it's a Hawaiian flower. It's a Samoan flower actually, and it means night for my daughter Layla. And my best friend in high school, her name was Layla Falanahi. She was a beautiful Samoan girl. And I miss her and we haven't talked in years, but I should reach out to her now that I'm saying her name. But I got the tattoo because of her and my daughter. I named my daughter after her, so.
Oh.
Amber, this is Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hi. You're just phenomenally awesome. You've done something that I couldn't even dream of. Even when I was in the best shape of my life, I couldn't have done what you've done. So hats off to you there. Boy, it was brutal watching the Trish thing. It was so hard to watch.
Yes.
How rude and how
Grateful.
Ungrateful and not being a teammate. I mean, you're out there hunting, fishing all day long, and she wouldn't even clean fish. How did you handle your composure and keeping calm? I would have lost it. Hats off to you. How did you do it?
You were a queen.
So that was definitely a very difficult situation. And it's crazy because obviously I couldn't talk about any of this until everything aired, and I honestly didn't know what was going to be seen, because the truth is if they didn't show everything behind the scenes that happened, which they did very well on the editing. There was a lot of parts that were taken out that were worse than what you guys had a chance to view. So it was very difficult for me watching it because all my memories came back. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, well, no matter what I do, I'm going to get jabbed. Doesn't matter what it is, whether I come back with 2 different types of fish. They didn't like this fish. They only wanted this kind of fish. And I realized that working with these Jen and Trish, it became more difficult. I had to keep my composure and take the higher road. There are certain people that you can deal with every day that no matter what you do, when you're always doing the right thing, they're going to want to smush you out. They're going to want to tear you down and make you feel beneath them. But the truth is you're not. I knew every day who I was, what I brought to the table, and I knew my end result was just to get them to day 40. I believed in them so much that even when we had so many negative moments, I just walked away. I took a breath and said, Amber, you got this. I have been through so much more worse things in my life. I'm not going to allow them to break who I am. I believe in myself. Nobody should ever have to have anybody believe them to be who they really are. And it took my faith, a lot of fishing, might I add, because fishing's my meditation, to get past all that negativity. And you know what's crazy is I forgave her every day. No matter what happened, I lost my temper. You guys saw it. I called her the D word, and I should not have let that happen. There was a really bigger situation that didn't make TV. I can't talk about it. And it was very hard on me. My boiling point was max. And I lost, and I shouldn't have done that. And I felt so bad doing that. I apologized to her so many times. And it takes a lot of patience And you have to be incredibly resilient, knowing that every day you're going to wake up and start over. And no matter who tries hurting you or putting you down with their words, you're better than that. You have to be able to walk away. There's no point of trying to win. Like, oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. I'm going to show her this, what's up. There's no room for them. Literally, you have to be that support system 24/7 and have forgiveness. And sometimes I watch the show and I'm like, oh my gosh, Amber, I had patience. But I also learned a lot about who I was as a survivalist out there as well, Rich. I learned that how I was communicating with the girls, maybe I should have had a different approach. And the truth is, I've watched myself. Did it make me look like I was bossy? Yeah. I was like, oh man, but I was, because I was insecure, you guys. I was
But you had to
scared.
be. You had to be bossy with them. Somebody has to take charge. If it
That's right.
wasn't for you, they would have starved. There's no question about it. Because you left, what, 3-4 days, they only had to go, and they were starving. They barely got food on the last day. They're ready to check out.
Yeah, they were
I mean,
really struggling.
You
But
carried them the whole time.
yeah, it was, you know, what's crazy is I wish that I did show Jen and me fishing together. She has a great skill and she's easy to work with. But whenever the dynamic came having Trish with her, it changed the dynamic, and that's the truth. And you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. But I will say this, even with all the bad things that happened, I can think of just 5 amazing things that happened out there with the girls that were good. And I'm not saying that it makes an excuse for how I was treated or what I experienced, but at least those are the moments I can hold with them. I still cheered them on when they got that one fish in the net. I was very displeased with Trish, how she treated Jen when Jen lost that fish. Like, she immediately yelled at her, and I'm like, you know, I love them in a weird way, where even though we don't get along, I was proud of them for making 40 days. I know it's crazy, but I was yelling at the TV going, yeah, I was just so proud of them. And it takes that person inside of you to be like, always think positive for other people. But how did I get through it? A lot of prayer.
Well, that was so admirable. Even when they went by on the boat, you were still cheering for them, and she was
I
still
was
putting you
crying
down.
secretly. I was
I know,
crying.
and she was
It
still
was
putting
so
you down
ridiculous.
as
I
she
was crying.
going by. I mean, I hats off to you. It was just phenomenal how you handled it, what you did, and you found a team and more teammates that worked with you. And I was just so happy for you when that happened.
Thank you, Rich. I
I
was
think,
so
I
blessed.
think as somebody, I wanted to say as somebody, I have 2 children that are about to be in the military, and I watched it, and I'm a Jersey girl. And when she blamed, you know, she's like, she kind of put it as you know, that I felt embarrassed. and I was like, that's how I ended up on the Facebook, was saying, you know, Jersey girls for Amber, because I was just mortified that she said that. It just, you know, and but I looked at you as a mother that has 2 children that are about to join the military. When I looked at who would I want to train my kids, I looked, and both my kids were watching, and they were like, you know, I'd want her to be, you know, and I think that came across. You don't realize, because sometimes I feel like there's the drama in Discovery, and they kind of capitalize on that. But I think you came across as being professional. And I think that's the takeaway, is that I think, you know, that's what I came away with. And so I just wanted you to know that. So,
well, I appreciate you, Sharon, and congratulations on your kids going to the military. That is really exciting.
One's in Honolulu right now.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah.
so thank them for serving, and I cannot wait to hear about their journey. I know you're going to post about it in there, and that's like a proud moment. And do I have a military side to me that comes out where I seem more direct? Yes. But does it also help me to be a resilient person? Absolutely. I have had highs and lows in the military, and they have made me a strong person, and I'm a mama bear. And when somebody messes with, you know, my babies, I try to protect them. And in that case, we're in survival mode. So I got really nervous. Like, I'm like, we've got to do food, water, fire, shelter.
Right.
But just like that, some people would take what I just said right now as bossy. And the truth is, I didn't need to be a team leader. I just wanted to see us succeed and thrive. We were 3 strong females. Why would we let any of the BS or drama ruin us? And it was hurting me, because I was like, girls, you know, I have these ponds, I have the river, we have a raft, you guys can weave, like we can do this. And it turned out to not be that way. And I was hoping with all the previews that they would give us a stronger light on who we are, but it really showed everything that happened.
Do
And
you
that was
feel
hard.
that, I know EJ has said that the whole premise of you guys coming in to lead these, you know, the 60-day leading the 40-day, do you feel that he kind of felt like it was a mistake the way the whole premise of it was presented? And maybe I thought maybe that's what put you in an awkward light with them, is that you're coming in leading them to their, you know, their 40-day, and the one person you were leading is not somebody that, you know.
You nailed it, Sharon. You nailed it, because before filming, they were saying Amber is going to be your guys' mentor. And I was like, they're survivalists. If they've done this before, why do I have to be their mentor? And when I was meeting Trish and Jen, we got to meet each other before we got on the boat, the little boat that shows us filming. We got to meet each other on an actual bigger boat where we stayed on for quarantine. And I met them, and I'm listening to them and who they are. And they weren't, I guess they were a little bit bold. They were like, well, I can do this, this, and this, and this. And I was like, that's awesome, guys. I didn't talk about what I could do. I was more excited the fact that they had skills. And I thought, well, this, if they want me to be a mentor, because I just got to show them what I know, and they could teach me something too. It'll be wonderful. And then the producer kept pushing mentor. And Trish did not like that at all. And she got incredibly like abrasive with me quickly, even on the boat and filming. And I was very uncomfortable on day one, is the truth. I obviously can't say it or express it during filming, but I was nervous because I felt like anytime I actually was, you know, speaking my mind, for example, walking to pick a location for our shelter was a 45-minute in a circle walk with these girls. And I was like, you guys, we really, and by the way, I was puking the whole entire time because I'm motion sickness. I got sick on the boat. It wasn't from touching anything. I get motion sickness. And if you watch in filming, I had I think they're motion sickness Band-Aids that you put behind your ear right here. Well, you'll see it in filming. Now, if you watch it again, you'll see me have it behind my ear. I had sea legs, couldn't walk, puking. So we finally come up to a tree and I go, hey, like this really could be a great foundation. This tree looks stable. It's wide enough. It gives us a natural canopy. I felt like I had to sell them on it for like 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, but I listened to them and I didn't mind taking I was like, heck yeah, girls, give it to me. What do you want? I'll build with you. Let's do this. And it was every time I gave an idea, Trish would twist it. And I was like, I kind of had to sell them on the place for our home, and it worked out. It was a beautiful home that we built together.
Yeah.
It was really great. It really was.
I guess when we watch, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. One of the things behind the scenes is that I have a 16-year-old daughter, and you are her favorite. So we were able to get there and watch, kind of binge watch a little bit, get her caught up on some of the scenes. Unfortunately, she didn't get to see past 40 days this year. But we're definitely putting that on, and we're gonna finish up the series next time we're together. But you know, there were a couple things that, well, first off, as a fellow Iraq veteran, I'm gonna definitely take my hat off to you because you were a badass.
Oh, thank you,
know,
brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
I was in the Navy, but I joined the Seabees, and somehow when they say like we're not in like Puerto Rico, Guam, and Okinawa, we're in there with the Marines. So yeah. I was right there in 03 and 04, you know. But anyway, the one thing that really disturbed me the most was that when they brought in the reinforcements, and you know, this is about you, this isn't about anybody else, but who they paired you up with, that one, that is one of the most destructive person. I mean, his record shows that. And I think that really, the after effects of those few days, and you guys had the wherewithal to welcome him in, try to take care of him. He was sick, you know, and then the lasting effects of what he did to that relationship. He had an opportunity there to really solidify it. But you know, that didn't happen. But your karma, when you stayed true, when you were with Steven and you were with EJ, and you know, as a man of faith, when I saw you guys pray before every mission, that was one of the reasons why, you know, I made it back. Our chaps prayed before every mission that we had over there. And, you know, so just, you don't have to to me, you don't have to justify yourself to anybody from the first, your first mission with Ryan to every single one. I've seen you on all of your episodes, and you have just come so far, and you're a legend. And you know, to unfortunately, you kind of feel like you have to kind of smooth the waters over, but really how you showed that, and then your glory when you guys were able to get there, give EJ his last moment. What was something off camera with either EJ and Steven or with Waz and Dan and Matt that you guys shared that we didn't get to see?
Oh my gosh. So many great moments. One thing I will say, thank you for all of that, Mark, by the way. That was so much, but I want to say thank you so much for all those kind words. And, you know, whatever your faith is, anybody's faith, whoever they believe in, having that, knowing there's a higher power in any part of the world, it can get you through anything. It gave me motivation every day to pray. I would pray every day, even with the girls. They didn't pray, which I respected that. And I would go outside, or I would pray during fishing. And I was very blessed to have Steven say, hey, we like to pray. I go, I started to cry. I was like, oh my God, I get to pray. I get to be with people who love to survive and who want to split up chores and have a routine. And but getting to your question, because it makes me tear up thinking about those moments. But one thing I will say is, behind the scenes at night, we would talk about the best recipes of cook. I know it sounds crazy. Waz is like an amazing chef, and he has all these like crazy chocolate recipes, you name it. And he would just talk about them, and we would talk about food every single night. And it was so good to imagine it. We have nothing else to talk about. So at nighttime was our bonding moment. And there's also a good bonding moment with Trish and Jen. At nighttime, we would sit in the shelter at night. The sun would go down. So when the sun went down, mosquitoes were a nightmare. We had to shut everything down. We had the fire roaring. We were in a mosquitoes net. Then Trish would say, okay, girls, let's go. Who's starting? And I'd go, oh, who's going to start singing this time? We would sing at the top of our lungs, and we would sing any song we could remember as loud as we could to scare the animals away, because we'd have jaguars come up in the middle of the night, even with us. And that's when I learned that Jen can rap. Let me tell you, she didn't sing for the first week with me and Trish, because I karaoke all the time. You give me a mic and I just let it go. So does Trish. So one night we look at Jen and say, all right, Jen, you need to sing. You got to come up with a song. She starts rapping some gangster song, and it was so good. I was like, what? And they wouldn't show those moments. And it sucks, because even though some of the words, obviously you can't show it on TV, the songs, you know, but let me tell you something. Those were those little moments that I was like, it's going to be okay. I would literally sit in bed, and even though we'd have like an argument over dinner or the type of fish I got them, they didn't like, it didn't matter. It was, let's start singing. We forgave each other, and we wake up and start over. One moment with EJ, we would sit by the water every morning when I was with him, and just me and him. And we would talk about life, and we would talk about his missions in the military, because he served, and some of his hardest moments. And I was able to talk about my Iraq deployments. And, you know, it was a great time for us to relate as friends. And he's an amazing, phenomenal survivalist. And I was very honored to be out there with him and Steven, you know, all of them. You know, there are some things that people are hearing that about a fallout. I got to be honest, I didn't even know that certain people didn't like me. I went on live feeds supporting them, and I was being, you know, torn down. It was very hard to be a part of that recently. And I'm just like, that's okay. I'm walking away from this, and I'm going to keep my head held high. So sorry for bringing that up, but that's how the end goes.
Do you think EJ, he talked about retiring, but you know, I can't see him retiring yet. He had a tough time. He struggled, but he made a heck of a boat at the end. And he's a legend. I can see him coming back. What do you think?
I can totally see him coming back.
Great.
When he threw that knife, I looked at him and I said, give me a break, EJ. You still got one more in you, man.
Yeah, he was having a rough time out there, and I felt so bad for him. He was trying so hard to get food, and he struggled, and I just wanted him to get something. He had a tough time.
I was really hoping he would get anything. I was praying for him and he was so frustrated. It was so hard for him to leave us. And it was so quick when he did it. Stephen and I got up. EJ went to the water and did his prayer. And then he came back to us and he's like, I'm leaving. And we're like, what? We were completely floored. And I was scared for him because he was struggling on the walk to the pond, let alone taking
Right.
off from our camp, you know? It was scary I
But
was
boy,
worried
he
about it.
made a heck of a boat at the end, didn't he?
Oh my gosh, what a great boat. He was so hard on himself, is the truth. When we first put it in the water, obviously it shows, it sunk down to our knees, still floated, but we were in the water and immediately we all kind of looked at each other and EJ was so hard on himself and we're like, forget this. What do we got to do to fix it, brother? What do you want us to do? And we all banded together like this and it was wonderful and it worked out.
That's great. That's awesome. I'd love to see him again.
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Anna Laura. Anna Laura, that's your name. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. So clearly the physical strength, we can see that, you know, on the screen that you have and that determination. But I'm curious for you, that mental strength that you have, you know, where that comes from, what that is for you, what gets you through those hard moments and how that translates to life when you get home. And how maybe you even impart that to your kids, some of that mental strength that you have.
It is really difficult, is the truth. I mean, just trying to mentally prepare myself to leave on a 60-day journey, knowing I'm leaving my husband and my children. And I have 3 littles. You know, I have a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 16-year-old daughter. So when I think about that, it was very difficult. The truth is, it caused stress on me and my husband because my husband knew that I was leaving and I only had a week, you know, to go and it kept getting harder and I was getting really nervous. And when I left, to top it off on the stress level, I was stuck on a boat and I had poor service. So I couldn't talk to my husband that much. And he's nervous for me. I'm about ready to start filming. I get very little communication with him even before filming. So it could be like 67 days before he even talks to me again, essentially. And the only way that is by us having complete open communication and understanding that we are in a very high stressful situation. I'm volunteering myself to go into this, and my poor husband, he is just put into this. I mean, these are great questions, not only for me, but for my spouse as well, and what he went through and how he mentally handled this. There should have been a show on him surviving 3 little kids, you know? But in that headspace, even mentally being strong out there, my military instilled so much inside of me to be resilient out there. I can't say resilient enough because it's considered bouncing back and always thinking positive. Even in the worst situation out there, when I was getting destroyed by the bugs and I had no skin, I literally thought to myself, Amber, if you can survive Iraq, you can survive these mosquitoes. Suck it up, girl. You got this. I want to prove to my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, that if I can go out here and do this, you're capable of anything to put your mind to. And my son, who's 10 years old. So there's a lot of mental aspect of that. I would love to talk to you one-on-one sometime to even let you know what I really like, everything. There's so much to talk about, but coming home was difficult because it's a reset. I'm not used to my cell phone, loud noises. It's almost like we leave the challenge with a sensory disorder where there's too much going on. It gives us anxiety. We start sweating certain smells. I had to change my whole diet coming home. Everything tasted funky to me, like sweets, too sweet, you know? And it's like you physically and mentally trying to prepare yourself for this. And the only way to do it is just to be positive. I know it sounds crazy and some people hate positive people, but you have to think that there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's the only way you're going to survive any situation.
Great, thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course, Michelle. Or you're not Michelle, your mom's Michelle, right?
Yeah. I'm Abigail. She's Michelle.
Abigail. Very cool.
If you could change one thing from if you could change one thing from any of your challenges, what would it be and why?
Okay, I have 2 things. My first one is with my partner Ryan on my first challenge. I shouldn't have called him a bad name. And I didn't understand why he was so scared of alligators. And the truth is, I was training with them. So I was past that fear of being in the water with alligators, how to manage them, hold them, control them. And Ryan had none of that. And I was putting too much pressure on him. And at that point in that challenge, my first episode, I should have been more patient and understanding. And that's where I'm growing as a person looking at it now. In my recent challenge, I realized my communication with Jen and Trish, I should have had a different approach, and I should have left earlier. Savannah, what you got?
Well, I think you should have left way earlier. I guess my question is, if you couldn't have brought, or I guess not necessarily if you couldn't have brought, but besides fishing line and maybe a net, what else would you have brought to the Amazon?
Oh my gosh, I would have brought a bow. I actually can shoot a right-handed bow, and I didn't even know I could do it. And I was like, I'm a lefty shooter. All my bows, my compound and my recurve are for a lefty. And I have them set at 48 pounds, which is the minimum for hunting. And shooting, I think it was Kayla's bow out there that I actually got to practice with, that she left. It was amazing. It was so great to learn a new skill, teaching myself how to shoot right-handed, you know, holding myself steady, my posture. Okay, when I pull the bow back, what muscle am I pulling, and trying to figure it out. I just thought to myself, well, shoot, if I fail at this, I'm just going to keep trying, right? I mean, what do I got to lose? I have nothing to lose out here. A bow would have been it, girl.
Okay, I have a question about before you went into this challenge. Okay, how much time did you have to like prepare, like to maybe gain weight or you know, mentally, all of that? And then also, when you got done with the challenge and you first looked in the mirror and you saw how thin you had gotten, how did you feel? And like, how long did it take for you to get back healthy and back to your normal state of mind when you got home?
So they notify us 45 days in advance to offer us a challenge. And they'll say, you've been selected for this. Would you like, you have this window open to go and film? And it's very like kind of broad. And then I'm like, why not? I don't even know where I'm going. I've got to do this redemption. And I find out where I'm actually going 2 weeks prior, the location. They notify us. They say, this is your location. So essentially the mental aspect, you have 2 weeks to study that complete area. And the problem with that is you never know exactly where you're going. If they say Peru, I ain't gonna know where the heck I'm going in Peru. There are so many different areas. I could be in the mountains, I could be down on the river. So you just have to study and research plants, you know, the fish. And usually I look up how the locals, or how do they hunt? How do they fish? What do their shelters look like, their homes? Because that's how I base my mentality of prepping myself. The physical aspect of it was my husband goes to the gym a lot, and I started joining him. I wanted to put on as much muscle as I can, and it was hard. Like, it is hard putting on muscle, but it's super easy to put some fat on, let me tell you, because I was trying to gain as much as I could, and I was struggling because I gained 8 pounds. 8 pounds before a 60-day challenge.
Whole 8 pounds.
A whole 8 pounds, and I swear I think it went to my right cheek because my pants were really. So I gained the weight, and then when I got done filming, I only lost, I think I started out 132 pounds. And when they weighed me on the boat right at extraction, I weighed 108 pounds. So I lost 24 pounds total. And what's funny is that they wanted us to go and eat our food at the end. And I was like, well, I want to go and shower. Like, they gave us snacks on the boat after filming. Of course they're going to give us a granola bar or a power bar. I wanted to go and shower, and they said, no, we're going to film you guys eating your first meal. And I'm like, I would like to be clean. I mean, I've got grimy fish and gunk under my hands, and I know I stink. Nobody's going to say that we stink, but really we stink. So it was tough. It was very tough, girl. Let me tell you, I lost half my hair out there. My hair fell out. My hair was double the length. It used to go down. It was like another 8 inches.
Oh my God.
And when you see my hair, it's dark brown. Obviously I talked about it. The water and the tannins, when the leaves would change my hair dark brown, dyed it. I started out blonde. So I lost half my hair, had stomach issues for a while. It took me about 3.5, 4 months to be normal.
Wow.
And I'm going to go do it again. This is crazy.
Do it, girl. Do it.
What were you going to ask?
Let me ask you, Amber, of all the things you've eaten out there, there's got to be something that just so horrible that you would never do again or try to eat. What's the worst thing you've eaten in all your ventures out there?
Well, I'm gonna say that Gary Golding had an influence on me. That's all I'm gonna say. He talked me into something, and I was like, me and Max were so funny with Gary. What great partners. Max and Gary, I had so much fun with them. Like, they were totally cool cats. Great survivalists. Gary's a little crazy and he knows it and he'll own it. And he said, oh man, there's maggots in the head of the alligator. And I was like, I said, man, you could smell the maggots. I was like, I don't think it's healthy that you're eating that. I think you're going to get like diarrhea or something. He's like, nah, I've ate this before. I can eat anything. I've got a steel stomach. And I'm like, he's going to have steel shits in a little bit because they're going to go through him. And he was fine. He boiled part of the meat and smelt okay. It smelt a little sour. And I was like, number one rule, survivalist, never eat anything that's rotten. That's my rule. Even the military, it smells funny. You got green eggs in the morning. Be careful if you eat them, So I decided that Gary talked me into this, and Max was like, just try a couple maggots. I promise they're good. They're good. And I'm like, So I had a couple maggots and I drank the broth, and it was actually quite disgusting, just like it smelled, and it gave me the shits. So that was the most disgusting thing. Apologize for cussing. Sorry.
If there's one person that you haven't done a challenge with that you could choose, who would it be?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Oh my gosh. Stacy Ocasio is an amazing survivalist. I think I said her last name wrong. I hope I didn't. Stacy is a phenomenal human being, and she is a very clear thinker, and she's incredibly talented. Like, she will look at something and she'll figure it out. She's a very strong woman. She was a single mom raising 2 kids. Like, she really sets a presence for children. And I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she inspires me. I could feed off of her energy. I know her and I would be great on a challenge because, for one, I know her personally, but also because she will never stop. Even if she fails, she's like, let's do it again. Who cares? I'm like, I do that. I'm like, yay. It's kind of exciting. Michelle's daughter, what do you got? You had your hand raised.
I was going to ask, what got you to want to be a survivalist?
Oh my gosh. I deployed in Iraq in 03, 04. And we had a lot of time on our hands, and we had some special forces guys that were in a perimeter. I was only 18 at the time in Iraq, and I was like bored. Obviously, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have TVs. We were just getting back into Iraq. And then these special forces guys were linking up with our Rangers, and they were doing outdoor survival training. And I'm like, can I go? And they let me join them. And it was hardcore training, from bow drill, fire starting, building, makeshift shelters, camouflaging yourself, setting snare traps. And I learned a lot from these other soldiers, and I was very blessed. And then when I got out of the military in 2012, I became an Army instructor, and they asked me if I would go do training for overseas for deployments. And I'm like, I would like to do that, but I really want to do survival training with soldiers, almost get into SEER training is what they call it. And then they couldn't send me to training. And I said, well, shoot, what am I going to do? And then this guy says, hey, you want to go wrestle alligators? And I start wrestling alligators. And I went there so much. I got in the water from a 2-foot alligator to a 14-foot alligator that tripped me and slapped the tail on my back. And it looked like somebody took a 2x4 to my back, but I survived and I got that gator out of the water. So I submitted that video to Discovery Channel, and they took me. They gave me a chance.
Would you ever consider doing a challenge with a fan, either a 14-day or a 21-day?
Yes, I would go on a fan challenge at any time. And I know, right? Like I talked to them a couple weeks ago, and they asked me some options. I can't say much, but they asked me what I would consider, what type of challenges. And this is kind of crazy, but I've had 2 really famous reach out to movie stars, and they asked if I would do a celebrity challenge with them. And I'm like, really? You really would go on the show? And they're like, yeah. I would like to do a 14-day challenge. And one of them, he's in a bunch of movies. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about him or not, but I'm assuming maybe. So I passed some information to Discovery and they got really excited about it. And they said, well, we have something else planned for you right now, but we're not saying no to that. And I'm like, but I also mentioned I would be honored to take a fan out there. So we'll see what happens.
So when you mentioned SEER training, that's what my son's going to do.
Is he
And so
really?
yeah, so when he watches you and he watches Alone. And part of him doesn't want to learn the skills before he goes into training, because he feels like he keeps saying, well, they want to train you their way.
That's right. He doesn't want a bad habit.
Okay, so that's wise then, because that's the first thing I wanted to ask you, because he and I, this is what we have in common, is watching these shows. And he, we watched you and we had all these opinions on it, and it's the way we bond. But I wanted to ask you that. Do you think it's wise? So, okay, good. He's got the right idea.
I think it's wonderful that he is, he's being really optimistic about it too, which is smart because, okay, if I want to go out there and learn how to drive this new Tesla car, do I really want to, or do I want to go through the training that Tesla's going to teach me directly? So it's like, and not having any bad habits. And the truth is, as a survivalist, if you look at all of us, we all start a fire a different way. Nobody does it the same.
Right.
Like we have our own, like there was a moment when Jeff started to, the fire went out when I came in the shelter. Fire's out and I'm like, gosh, the coal's dead. I brought some fish and I was like, and Jeff was really sick and he goes, don't worry, I'm going to start the fire. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he had his segments on what he did step by step. And I was watching him. I'm like, dang, dude, like he prepared it. Like it took 30 minutes of preparation for this fire. And me, I'm a little different. If I'm using a ferro rod, I'm going to scrape off but of that magnesium. I'm going to have really dry tinder. I'm going to really shred it really fine and thin, put it all together, and then I'm going to hit my spark. But Jeff did it differently. So he had a pile here, a pile here, a pile here. Like it was a step procedure for him, like a book. And I was like, I watched him do it and he started it. And I was like, man, it's entertaining to see we all do things differently. Like I make a different bed. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody does things differently.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm excited for him. That's cool.
Yeah, he's excited.
That is so cool. Oh, Monica.
Thank you. I was wondering, they show a clip of you wrestling alligators in your first episode. Is that what you submitted to get on the show?
Yes. So actually that was one of the videos, but the truth is the main video I sent was of me failing. And like I said, I'm willing to get kicked down, and I jumped right back up after that alligator kicked me and I slammed in the water and had like 15 others come towards me. My mom was filming, by the way, and my mom was freaking out. My mom would not go near the gators and she's like, Amber, Dawn, she's like, get up, get up, get up, freaking out. And I'm like, I got this, Mom. I'm covered in crap. I smell like poop because the water is stagnant swamp. And then I'm looking around and there's all these alligators coming at me and it's all on film. And then I grabbed the rope, I wrapped around the gator's neck again and I rip him out. And then that was it for me. And they picked me.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anna Laura's daughter. Go ahead, girl.
I was wondering if you were out there and if you have any favorite foods. Were you like craving them, or was there anything when you were out there that you were like, oh my gosh, when I come back, I really want to like eat this or do this or go there. I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah, so cookie butter. Let me tell you about cookie butter. If you don't know cookie butter, you should go get some because it is what I was craving. I would just, if I had a thing of cookie butter, I would just take scoops of it and eat it. Like I probably, if I knew the camera crew had a Snickers in their pocket, I would have probably tried to fight them. Snickers, any type of, but I didn't, it's crazy is when we go out there, most survivalists, you know how they prepare? Most of them will admit this. They'll sit in a chair and they'll just eat Twinkies, ice cream, bars of butter, you name it. They'll like shove it down their face. And the only problem with that is you are not detoxing your body. So when you go out in the wild, it helps control your cravings and your mental state. So what happens to your body when you're like, gosh, my sugar's low, I'm craving. Sugar in our body is like what they call cocaine, which is a bad drug, which is addicting, right? We crave sugar. We crave salt. And if you prepare yourself and detox yourself like I did in quarantine, I didn't have as bad cravings as other people, but I did smell Jeff. I know this sounds weird. I didn't smell anything on Trish and Jen. I couldn't notice their scent. Like, I know we stink, but I didn't notice it. When Jeff came, he started to sweat profusely, and he said he ate like a box of Oreos a day. And you could smell that's like sweat. It was just like he was detoxing, and the bugs loved him more than us. And I'm like, so you got to be careful how you prepare. Go ahead, Michelle's daughter. Come on in.
Would you ever think about going on a 21-day challenge with your husband?
Yes, actually, that's funny you say that. So I'm not saying this, but I was asked if he would actually consider it from production. And he is a really cool guy. He has really angelic feet though. So he can, he's a knife maker. He can make knives, he can go hunt, he can shoot a bow. And he was like, I'll go. And I was like, what? And so maybe we'll get selected for something like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a question.
Jeannie?
Oh, yes. Okay. So when it comes to the boys, when you're with the boys, okay, give us a little info, like what kind of bad habits that they have at night, like who snored, anybody fart all night long, any of that kind of stuff. And then also, what does a horn screamer taste like?
Okay, so bad habits sleeping. I did notice that Jen talked in her sleep. She would talk in her sleep. She talked in her sleep. Nobody really snored with the girls, but when Jeff came, he moved a lot. Like he would wake us up like all the time moving, mainly because he was running out, puking out of the shelter, but also he snored. Steven is a very quiet sleeper. EJ talks in his sleep. He talked in his sleep. And who else was out there with me that was a loud snorer? Oh my gosh, I don't think it was Waz. There was one guy out there that really snored in the middle of the night. I just can't remember who, but he was loud. And I was like, I can't sleep in the shelter. That's why we had to build the other one, but you know. And the wild turkeys, we call them, the horn screamer, were like, it's like a turkey. It was wonderful. It was like the broth was amazing. The meat was so delicious. It was the best thing I had out there besides Cayman.
Wow.
It was so good, girl.
Oh my goodness. Makes me want to go and get one.
Kevin.
All right. I know you touched earlier. You said if you couldn't bring fishing hooks, you would bring a bow. But like, if you had a challenge where you knew all those kind of like S tier items were taken care of, like a bow, a blade, fishing, fire starter, and you could bring just like a more fun or riskier item, do you know like any kind of item that you would bring that would just be like kind of maybe like Tim's blowgun, like something different and out there that maybe wouldn't be
yeah, there, what's crazy is like for my survival experience, I'm very basic. Like if you give me the minimum items, I almost do better because I'm not putting, like, I know I only got these items. I'm going to train with these items. I'm going to be the best with these items. I know this sounds crazy, but gosh, Kevin, I would like to bring a damn tarp. If I could bring a tarp, that would be legit. Like how many different times we had rainstorms come down, destroy our shelter. We have to work on our shelter. It takes up so much energy. I would throw a tarp on top of that bad baby like that. I'll be honest. I know I'm not that cool. I think of like the little things that would make my life easier, or maybe, you know what I mean? Mark, go ahead.
So, one of the things when you said you change it about leaving early, when you were really like down there and understanding it, and they showed you that time before you were actually gonna walk away, and I mean, and believe you me, when I'm not saying that it's in a negative conversation, because I was telling you to go, I was screaming at you to get out of there, and because you're going to be fine. But what was really kind of the breaking point, or what was your thought process to really make the determination at day 30 that was the day that you were going to make your solo trek?
Well, it was tough because there were a lot of moments where I was like, I would say day 18 was, well, let me back it up actually, if I'm going to be honest here. Day 13 was very difficult for me. There was There were some issues going on with the beds and what they were doing inside the shelter that I didn't agree with, and that's okay. We're different survivalists. I was very confused because I thought, am I going to be able to do this every day? Am I going to be able to go out and fish for hours or get firewood or come back and there's no water boiled or how do I figure this out? Are these girls going to help me? And then I realized, try to work with them. Let's all take turns doing everything. And I thought that would work. And then it got worse on day 18. And there was nights when I would lay in bed, I would pretend to sleep, and there were things being said about me that I was being made fun of how I look, or that they were making fun of me. Hurtful. It was like, man, I'm really laying here. I'm a grown woman and I'm listening to this. I feel like I'm in high school and I don't want to say anything. And it would just be Jen and Tris whispering all night long about it. And I would just sit there and I'd cry sometimes. And I thought to myself, God, give me strength. Let me get through this. Stay focused. What is your goal here? You believe in them. Get them to day 40, Amber. You got this. Day 28 is when I really had a breaking point with Jeff. I walked up on the shelter, which it showed. Embarrassed. I was like taken back because I didn't even know that Jeff was doing any of this instigating. And there is obviously a bigger story, what happened after filming, but the before he left really hurt me because if he's telling the girls that I was talking bad about them because I said they didn't like boiling water, if that's all you got, you have no right to treat me the way you did. I was treated like a dog. And if I was so confused about everything, and that was my breaking moment walking up to the shelter. I knew I had to leave. And then that afternoon or the next day, Jeff left. And I was like, do I just leave them? And then Jeff just left. And then I thought, well, maybe we can work through this. Maybe with Jeff gone, we can try to get back together as a team and move together and work together. And that's not what happened. It was, I don't want to talk bad, but there's just things that happened that just went right back to the same routine. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I need to move forward on with me and my journey. I mean, there's things I want to do. I wanted to build a bridge over my pond because I chased the pods of fish. That's how I was fishing. I was active fishing all day. And I wanted to make my life a little easier. And I'm like, I couldn't even build the bridge because other things wouldn't get done or it wasn't done in a timely manner. I was just insecure, guys, was the truth. And I realized that maybe if I leave these girls, they'll realize that I was an asset to the team and that what they were doing was wrong, but that didn't work. It was just a slander fest, even after filming. I thought now I'm just like, I'm staying positive and I'm sending love to them, however they are and what they're doing in their lives. And I support them, but I'll never have a friendship with them. And that's okay. That is okay.
I'm curious, when you walked up on the shelter, did anyone from the that was filming the team kind of clue you into what was going on there? Because it almost felt like
it looked like it was staged, didn't it?
Well, not staged, but it looked like somebody gave you a heads up. I almost felt like whoever was filming was on your side.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. It was crazy. I had a wonderful producer, Kat, but she wasn't like that. Like she let everything unfold. She wouldn't warn us. She didn't want to cause drama with us. She was very supportive of the all-female team. She really was. And she wanted us to succeed. And she even tried giving pep talks to the girls in their interviews, like, hey, you're being really hard. Why don't you look at it this way? Instead of the glass half empty, look at it half full. Like, you guys can do this. She was very motivational, inspiring. And when I walked up on that shelter, so when I first walked up, I heard a little bit of laughing and I slowed down and I was like, what are they saying? Right. And then I stopped and I was looking over because I thought I heard something near the water. So if you look at it, I'm actually looking away from the shelter. And then that's when I hear them talk about leaving me in the middle of the night. And I was completely taken off guard. I had no idea that was going on while I was out fishing. And, when Jeff discusses on his life feeds, well, I would rather have a enclosed shelter than food in my belly. I'm like, what? Nobody would say that. Nobody would ever say I would rather have a door on a shelter that you can walk in and out of versus food in your belly. I just thought that was really harsh in so many moments where I'm like, man, he did try fishing and he couldn't get anything. And he is a good fisherman. And there was a certain technique fishing out there. If you did it every day, you knew how the fish were hitting and what times and what bait. and he didn't want anything to do with me. So I couldn't help him. And that was the situation. That was the moment I really had to
And
go.
I think even if it was that you were this, it just didn't make sense. Even if you were a bad part, like it just the way they treated you, it just was so immature, and it was just not. There was no way around it. It just
There was no
editing or
winning.
whatever.
There
Yeah,
was no winning. There was
no winning.
no, I had to be very careful with how I spoke to them. Even if I wanted to join in a conversation, I was always shut out. Or if I
Right.
asked for help, I'm like, hey, there, what's funny is when you watch the show and I'm like, hey, can you girls clean the fish? I wasn't trying to make them do something. I was gonna go get firewood because we didn't have enough fire in front of the shelter. We had none. And I'm like, hey, can you guys clean this fish? We got like an hour before the sun goes down. I'm gonna go get some firewood. I'll fill up the pot. I can boil it. Like, it doesn't show that. And I wish it would, because I had a reason for asking things. And I look at it now like I shouldn't have asked. I should have just done it, got it done, cleaned the fish, fed them. And then I could like, hey guys, let's all go get firewood together, like a team. And I know a better way to approach now, watching myself and my experience.
I think one of the biggest things that anybody could say is that, the difference between the two camps. Grace is one, but humility. I think that was one of the most, and for me speaking personally, I think that's why you're one of my favorite survivalists, is because of your humility. We can talk about everybody's accomplishments, EJ's and Stevens and Matt's and all of those people that you come in there. But if you listen to what they said, it was all about being humble. And, especially when you were there, I don't remember exactly what part of the challenge it was there, but you were really just saying, I want to pull my weight. I want to prove that I'm a teammate, and I want to do that. And I thought that was so remarkable, that in the face of everything else, you're not sitting there thinking like, hey, am I hungry? What's it about me? And just that, and all of you that made it to the 60 days, you could say that about every single one of you, about being humble. And I think that because that showed up more, you don't have to elevate yourself with your accomplishments. You don't have to elevate through that. You elevated yourself through grace and humility in the eyes of fans, in the eyes of everybody. So you just keep doing what you do, and the rest, let the chips fall the way that they are, because you were amazing.
Thank you, Mark, so much for that. And what's crazy is, if all of us were friends and you got to know me as a person, you would be like, what I got to experience out there and show with love and kindness. Like, that's just really who I am. You can ask my best friends and my sisters and my family, but mainly I'm a mama bear, and I love taking care of people. And I love ensuring, as a sergeant, I was a staff sergeant in the Army, I love protecting my people. I really believe in that. And you can't be selfish in a survival situation. You can't worry about like, well, I need to go out here and hunt this so I can be on TV, or I need to get more airtime. I told anybody who's ever thought about being on a survival show, it's not about you. It's about what you can give and what you can teach. And I've learned more about myself as a person in the last year with this experience than ever. And I am so excited to push my limits and see what I can bring to the table on my next challenge, and who I can, inspire out there. And my daughter is a fan of mine. I want more younger teenagers to get out there and learn basic skill sets like fishing, even just going camping. We're getting away from being outdoors and why we're passionate and why it really makes us feel centered in this world. You go outdoors, it relaxes you when you're in the woods. And it's a proven fact that it can bring more happiness being out in the wild. And I look at this and I'm like, I'm obsessed with this. I'm addicted to this, guys. I love being outdoors. I'm not addicted to being naked, but I would do it because I get to really push my limits as a survivalist. What am I capable of,
Did you continue to eat fish after your challenge? Because that was like the only thing you ate during the whole challenge.
Oh my gosh, I had a really hard time eating fish. My father-in-law, I went to visit him in North Carolina, and he loves fish. And it was like only a month after the challenge, and he served it, and I was like, oh no, don't be rude, Amber, don't be rude. And Richard looks at me and he goes, what's wrong, Amber? Don't you just love fish? And I'm like, I could not get over it. It was hard for every bite, and I love fish. It was weird. It was really weird, but good question on that, because I tried staying away from it, and I have a feeling that my next challenge, my environment may have a ton of good. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also having an opportunity to get away from Naked and Afraid and try a different challenge. So you might be seeing me in the next 2 years doing something else too, which I'm not going to say, but I'm excited about.
Let me
Oh,
ask you,
Savannah.
Amber, about how many hours of sleep would you average a night?
Oh, good question. Probably 4 to 6 hours a night.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
More than I
Great
thought.
bed. I had a bushcraft bed. It's like the one with slats. It's wonderful. And it's not. It's actually horrible to sleep on. If you were to lay on it, you'd be like, oh, but you're off the ground. And once you're in survival mode, things change. It's like something clicks in your mind that you're willing to take and compensate for any pain and suffering and just get through it.
Then how many hours would you be out fishing and hunting during the day?
Oh, as soon as the sun came up, my routine was simple. With the girls, I would wake up at like probably 4:30. And how I knew the time, they give us cameras to record for, you guys to watch behind the scenes, and we're talking to it. And it has the time on the bottom. And they tried to hide it, but really you just hit a button and tells you the time. And I knew that the sun came up at 5:10 in the morning. And I would wake up and I would lay there and I would check on the fire. The girls would be sleeping. And then I would sneak out. And then I would go watch the sunrise, and it was so beautiful on the river. I would just sit there and be like, and that's the one moment the bugs weren't hitting. It was so weird. Right when the sun came up, no bugs. Then as soon as the sun came all the way up, the mosquitoes would start tearing up my butt. And that's when I would start fishing right there. It was great. So it was like a good routine. But I would be out there for I would serve them breakfast. I would get fish in the morning. And then I would bring fish. And then after that, we would talk about our morning, what we're going to do. Let's break up some ideas. Let's work on this project or that. And then I would go back fishing from 12 to 3, about 3 hours, maybe 4 sometimes, depending on how many fish. They just didn't hit all the time. You had to pick your certain hours when they would actually hit. And then in the evening, if I didn't get fish during the day, I would set lines overnight. And then I would check those in the morning, and they rarely worked because the other big fish would come eat your fish that was on the hook.
Oh,
yeah. And we're only given 10 hooks. So I was very careful with where I had my hooks.
wow. Thanks.
Yeah. Savannah, did you have a question?
Yeah, just 2 quick questions. One of the questions were you surprised by anything? Because I know you can't really see what's going on in the other camps until you, I guess, watch the show. What surprised you, whether it be like who tapped first or things like that? And the other thing was, rewatching the show, does it give you like trust issues because you feel like you're experiencing one thing and then you go and watch the show and maybe you catch the eye rolls or you catch the side comments?
Oh my gosh, there are so many answers to what you just asked. Let me tell you. Let me start. In the beginning, when it started showing our first couple episodes of the girls, I didn't realize there was more animosity than was present. So was I surprised? Heck yes. Did I know it was gonna show more with our animosity building and fighting? Yes, I experienced it. But some of the things that shocked me mainly out of anybody was Jeff. And then Trish hugging me, that hurt. I was like, I remember saying goodbye to those girls. And when I said goodbye to them, I was like, I decided I'm going to take my own path. And then doesn't show the scene where I'm being told that from a certain survivalist, I'm not allowed to take anything, just like that. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to take my fishing line and my 4 hooks. I will leave 6, or I'm sorry, I had 3 left. 3 hooks I left out for them. They're already line set. And I left my Cayman hook that I had, my big J hook. And I was told I couldn't take that. I couldn't take anything but my mosquito net, my knife, and not even the ferro rod. I was told. And that was
took your raft.
Oh my gosh. The rafting is so entertaining because the raft was a lot of work. And I was so excited for it because I knew they needed an extraction. They couldn't walk out of that thing. And I was like, we have energy. We should build a raft. And I talked to the girls at night about it. I was like, you guys, this is going to be your extraction. I know it. This is going to be your extraction. Like, no, it isn't. We're going to walk out of here. I'm like, listen, I've done this is my 5th season. they're going to put you on a raft. And so I tried expressing that to them, and I shouldn't have put pressure on them to help me with the raft. I should have just done it myself, but it was really hard when you're building a raft and nobody's fishing. Nobody's boiling water, letting the fire go out. Like it was hard for me. I was like paranoid that I was going to be dehydrated and be kicked out for no water. Like I was scared. Like, and yeah, that raft was very important. And it ended up being incredibly important. So I'm happy that I got to be a part of that journey with them.
I have to ask you, what's the go-to to put on that J hook to catch a caiman? What's Amber's bait recipe, that, or is it patented? Is there like some sort of legalities that you can't say or whatever? But what's the
no,
secret?
it's so
What's
you
the
know what's
secret
crazy
sauce?
is it doesn't show the whole story behind the buildup in my ponds. Something was eating my bait off of my hooks all the time, and I was getting so mad. And I'm like, that is so weird. And then I would bury my bait next to the water because I kept it from the shelter because it would stink. You know, it was the insides of fish and it would rot. And that is the best bait for getting caiman and alligators in general, the rotting smell and maggots. And I wrapped it up in a big leaf. We call them the banana leaves, and I buried it. Something came and dug it up on the shore, like 2 feet from the water. And I was like, we got to have a caiman in here. I know it. I know it. I know it. And then I set up a hook and it worked. And that rotting meat got us, I caught 4 caiman total. I only showed 3, but I'm very honored to even have the privilege of showing that. One of them was Jen's, which was a great moment. That was one of my highlights with Jen, and I was so proud of her. It was amazing. If you're willing to stick your hand in damn water to grab a caiman that's going to bite you, that's pretty impressive. You got to give her that. I mean, I was very impressed how brave she was. And it made her stand a little taller that day too. Like, I was more excited about, did this motivate her to want to push herself as a survivalist now? Like, to take the next step? Like, I was excited watching it, and I was there. And I'm like, what is she capable of with just a little guidance, let alone her trying things out on her own and not being scared to fail? Because people can go fishing, but when they go fishing, they'll go fishing for 10 minutes and be like, there's nothing. The fish are all gone. This isn't happening. I'm like, there's a reason why it's called fishing and not catching. So simple thing.
And you have to do it one time for us.
You do. You know what's fun is I tell people get outdoors all the time and just to go try fishing. Who cares if you don't catch anything? It's that moment of taking time for yourself. I think as we get older as adults, we're so serious, you know, we forget to sometimes be that 15-year-old person having fun and remembering to laugh and to remembering to take time for yourself. Get off your phone, stop watching TV, get off your couch, like go have some fun, get dirty. When we grow up, it's like we forget it's okay to roll in the dirt. It's okay to do this. It's okay to laugh and do jokes and be silly.
Can you give us an in-your-face Amazon?
Oh my gosh, everybody.
Yes.
That's your trademark right there. Yeah.
I know, I'm like, in your face, Amazon. Sorry, honey. He's in there. It's funny to watch that, but when you see the preview 20 times a day, you're like this. Amazon. Dang you. And I didn't realize I was actually being recorded on the side. I didn't really think that even make it. I was so excited. And then I'm like, every time my daughter would text me, she's at a friend's house, she's like, you're on their TV, mom. You're on their TV, moms, you know, and it's fun. It's fun watching that. It really is. I miss those moments. Those were glory moments for me. I wish I could go back and have more of those. But at the same time, my journey would have been different. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you, the aftermath when the whole episode the whole season came out, how did your daughter, did they see what went down? And was it difficult for you to navigate? Because I would be on social media and see Jen liking things that were negative towards you. And that's what really that's where I was like, oh no. Like I actually kind of went after her a little bit, which maybe, you know, I typically wouldn't do that, but I did. I was like, you're going after her. And yet she's saying, don't be a dick. You know, that whole thing she did. And it just didn't ring true to me. So I'm curious how it was with your family and with your daughter, if she was aware of what was going on.
Yeah. So my daughter, Layla, she knew exactly what was going on. She watched it and she was like, oh my gosh, mom, you have so much patience. Why did you allow this? And I was like, it wasn't it wasn't an allowed behavior, but maybe it was at a point because I was getting fish every day and allowing me to go get the fish instead of saying, hey guys, can you guys, let's take turns fishing and stuff. Like maybe it was, their expectations, you know, for always being fed, and they didn't have that insecurity like me. And it changes people. But my daughter, she was fully aware of what was going on, and she was pissed, and she's 16, and, you know, watching it and then going to school because she's a junior this year, and all of her friends would be like, you know, your mom this, your mom's, you know, being bossy, you know, there's highs and lows in that situation. It's hard for her. And she's like, you know, my mom is a badass. She'll say this, my mom's a badass. She's been to 2 combat tours. You know, she slayed this 60 days, and those girls were just being mean. It feels good hearing that support from her, but it also hurts me that when I do see things online, the one thing that really hurt me more than anything was I would get online to the fan pages in the beginning, and I was really excited and proud of these other survivalists. They did 21 days, and I didn't even know who they were. And I was like, great job. Like, get them. I'm so proud of you. I don't even know who they are. And I support them because this is hard. And then every time I left a comment about a positive, Trish would get on there and she would write all this bad stuff about me. And like, I'm like, just lies that I was like, why would you do this? When somebody is being super positive and praising somebody, like she would do anything to jab people. And it was very hard and it hurt me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're grown people. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst one was Jeff. I didn't understand Jeff. I was, you know, even when he left, I was still like, I felt so bad for him. I knew this was hard. And you know what the real secret behind all of this is? When Jeff left, my husband found out from the rumor trail throughout the survivalist group that Jeff came. My husband heard that Jeff was with me, and my husband has no communication with me. So what did my husband do? He reached out to Jeff and he said, brother, please call me. Were you with Amber? Is everything okay? Are you okay? My husband was so worried about Jeff. And Jeff called him back 2 days later and was like, Amber's doing great. She's taking care of the girl. She's fishing. He's praising me to my husband. And my husband was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for sharing this with me. And then Jeff says, also, when I was leaving, Amber hugged me and said, can you please tell him? And so Jeff told Peter, Amber loves you. My husband goes, oh my gosh. My husband started tearing up. He hasn't heard from me in 30 days. He doesn't know what's going on. He says, Jeff, I would like to send you money to take Aaron out to dinner. I want to say thank you so much for taking care of my girl out there and just being so gracious and talking to me. That is mind blowing. And then when I get home and I get all these threats and I'm like, I don't understand it. I didn't do anything to Jeff and I didn't talk bad about him once, nor have I ever. And it's a continuous issue that he still will get online and talk bad about me. And I'm like, why? Why waste your energy putting it towards me when really I will never say anything about you? It hurts a little, kind of a lot, but I'm better now. But it was hard handling in the moment watching.
In all those cases, people give what they have in their heart.
That's
So-
true. I feel good now at where I am and watching it, but it took me back a lot to see those moments. And you're right, it does hurt. And you know what? I was able to grow as a person myself and be stronger and have tougher skin as the truth. And I don't want to surround myself with people like that. You know, if you can surround yourself with good people, you'll have a better life. Don't be with those people who are always like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You're going to fail at this. You're not going to be good at that. Get rid of them. They don't even deserve to be around you. They take away your light and you just need to shine. That's why I tell people, always give yourself the best version of yourself and karma is going to come your way and it's going to give you the best version of.
I mean, I think that when you look at how people face adversity out there, you know, I sent a message out there. Duke Brady used to live here in my town. And when we did his watch party, I was his bartender. For his when they went through the hurricane, right? With him and the mall, right?
Yeah.
And so you know he was, and of course that was the famous how many nicknames can you call your privates? That episode, right? But it was so interesting to see that when people are finding it, I mean, it's almost like whether they do it for ratings or whatever they want to do. But you can tell the people that are out there that are teammates, and you can tell the people that are out there for, you know, the self-accomplishment. And when the self-accomplishment doesn't fly, then you know, they don't have anything left to fall back on. Whereas when, you know, in the times that you've been out there and you've consistently, it's not like you know, once or twice or anything like that. Like you say, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And you just thank you very much, and you save me a lot of energy on my side, because I'm definitely not going to be reaching out to you. But you can tell the people who are teammates, and the people who are in there to, you know, criticize and offer and everything else, and the destructive ones, you know. And it's just like, and we all sit back here and go like, you know, it would be so much easier if you could just shut up and just do what, you know, just kind of go with what, because you all are going to make it. I mean, every single time it's like, you know, when you guys were there and the 6 were on that raft, I mean, tears were coming down our eyes, because we're like, oh my God, man, 2 months, 60 days. You know, I mean, we couldn't last 6 minutes out there. You know, and you guys are out there for 60 days. So, you know, just everything that you do, that's what's so honored. That's what's so neat about being able to kind of peel back the veil and kind of see who you guys are, you know, and you're just the same person as what we see on TV. So you just say who you are. You have fans out here, and the next time you're in Southern California at Michelle's place, you better let me know so I can say hi.
I will. I'm going to go there next year and raise money. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, I love raising money for different types of cancer organizations. This one is Temecula Michelle's Place. It's on Facebook and it's on Instagram, and it helps women in need. And they go through all of these surgeries, and then they have nobody to help them afterwards. So Michelle's Place has volunteers to take women to their appointments who are going through their cancer treatments, and there's somebody just to talk to. They help them with clothes, with getting wigs for them. Like, it is an amazing place to either donate your time or your money. And I've been raising money for them for 4 years now. And it's just a wonderful place to be around. And you can just feel all their love when you walk in. And I got to meet some of the cancer survivors, and it was an honor to meet them. And just to see their journey and hear about it, you know, it makes me feel, gives me my hope every year on why I do this. So Michelle's Place, Temecula, I'm there every year. So if you're down, if you want to go, you should come to Temecula. We do a big meet and greet, and we do some fun fundraisers. It's a whole weekend activity. I would love to share those dates, and you guys should come. It's just
That's amazing. My son
and
lives in Temecula.
they've expanded it to just that it started out with breast cancer and women's cancer, and they've been so successful that they actually have expanded it to all cancers.
That's right.
So they're just absolutely amazing. So when I saw Duke was there, and I was like, you jerk, you know that I'm a huge fan. Like, how could you not tell me that everybody was going to be there? So
I remember that year because we had a great time. Duke is so much fun to be around. What a great human being. And what's really interesting is I got to spend time with them outside of the cameras and kind of get to know who they are. And there are so many people that are survivalists on the show that I didn't really know about. And then I get to know them one-on-one. I'm like, I have so much respect for them. And I'm like, gosh, I would go to war with you. And it's intriguing to meet good people and bad people. But like I said, you know, surround yourself with good people. It will change your life. It makes you feel like you can do anything. Yeah.
And I don't know if you could even speak to it, but the moment when you knew like you were the last woman that was going to make it, and then when you got on that raft and you made it the 60 days, I stopped and showed Jocelyn, if you have to see this book at Girls Can Do Anything, you know.
Yes.
Like, what does that feel like? And then to know that you're representing.
Oh my gosh. When it was like a moment, it was weird because EJ came over to me and talked to me before I got on the raft, and we didn't have cameras around. And sometimes it's nice not having those cameras because you feel pressure and you're like, it's like you just want to have your own personal space. And EJ put me aside and he's like, you know, he's like, how do you feel being the only woman standing? I go, oh my God. It felt inspiring, amazing. And all I could think about was my daughter. And it actually showed the moment when I said, this is for my daughter, Layla, to show her that we can do anything, girls and guys, but mainly younger girls that are being told, you can't do this, you can't do this. And it's true. It is happening in so many different ways. And I can prove to her now that if I can go out in the wild, buck naked, and give me a knife and a ferro rod and survive, what else am I capable of? So that's why I want to try this new challenge to see how far I can really push my limits as a human, but not just the human, but as a woman itself. And I'm really excited to share this experience with other young girls. I actually have been trying to work on it's not something for film. It'd be more or less a challenge for mother daughters that would be under 18 with their mom. I would take them out in the wild for 3 days and we would build our shelter and we would bond, and it would figure out a way to create a relationship with their children, because so many people are missing that element sometimes. Or even if they want to strengthen their relationship, putting yourself in an environment where it's difficult and looking what the perseverance is, it will blow your mind. And it instills that confidence. And all you need is confidence. And if you're not scared of failing, you're capable of anything.
That would be amazing. Real quick, I have to say this because it is my opinion. I'm going to touch on the Jen and Trish thing real quick. I feel like the whole reason they acted the way they did, maybe I mean, this is the way I feel. I'm not judging, but I feel like they were extremely jealous of you in every aspect of your looks, of your, your abilities. I think they were extremely jealous of all that. I'm sorry, I do. But
I felt some of that jealousy mainly from Trish. She was definitely one of those, like, I was like, oh dude, a mean girl right now, like in high school,
I feel like if it would have been just you and Jen, I think it would have been a whole different scenario. Jen was
100%.
more, when she was with you, she was one way. When she got with Trish around you, she completely changed everywhere.
It was really hard. It was like, you go from this high and you're like, oh my gosh, we just got fish together. I just showed, Jen how to fish, her first fish. I've never been so proud in my life. And then we go and show Trish, and Trish kind of rolls her eyes at Jen, and I'm like, that was unfair. It's like she worked hard at that. Like, you should, no matter who it is, whether it's a coworker at work, you should praise them, and you'd be shocked at the result you'll get in your future. Like, as women and men, we get jealous sometimes of other people. That is it, because we're human. It's okay, but it's how we handle it. And if we can give praise to those when they do succeed, we would be a lot more stronger out there, women. I got to be honest, because we are hard on each other.
Yeah.
Guys aren't like that. Guys are chill at times, and they're like, that's cool, dude. But women, it's true, we get jealous of other women. But if we start praising each other and building each other, that's when you're unstoppable.
Yeah. And then also real quick now, when you were paddling out, with the motion sickness, did you have any issues with that? And how extremely relieved were you when you saw the boat picking you up in extraction?
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I didn't get motion sickness on our raft, but they offered me, the medic the night before offered me the patch. And she said, hey, you're going to be on a boat. Do you want to take the patch? Well, what's the problem with the patch? The side effects? Oh my gosh. Gives you cotton mouth, extreme cotton mouth. And if you've ever had to wear the patch before for motion sickness, your mouth, everything is sucked out of your mouth. And it's I was like, there's no way I can do this. I'm just going to have to suck it up. Then what they don't show is how we almost died being rescued. Yeah. I almost got pinched between the boat, and they don't show that. And it was really scary. EJ was so mad. He was holding, the boat wouldn't stop. So as it's coming at us, this big boat like this, we're on this little tiny raft, and it sucks us in, and our raft starts sinking under the boat on the side. Everybody was on the boat. I was the first person. I went to reach to, they had like a little rope, and I don't know what they thought I was going to do with this little rope. And I was like trying to grab it, and I missed it, and I start to fall. And I swear the two soldiers reached down with I'll never forget, they were wearing white gloves. They grabbed me, and I literally was almost pinched between the boat. Everybody was so mad. We couldn't tell you guys that. Our rescue was that's why it was only, sometimes they'll do refilming if they miss an angle. We couldn't refilm that. We were so mad at production for almost killing us that if I got sucked under that boat, those rotors would have killed me.
Oh yeah.
And that's why, and then EJ was yelling at everybody, like, you could have killed her. How dare you put us through this? He was like Papa Bear coming out, man. And then they didn't have shoes for us, and that metal was on fire, and our feet were on fire. And I was like, they had soldiers go inside and grab whatever shoes, and we were
Lord,
that was behind the scenes, just so you know. But that was the most embracing moment, was when Matt lifted me up like this at the very end.
Oh yeah.
My one goal was, I was like, Matt, I'm going to be super thin. You want to do the dirty dancing move, the lift? at the very end, and he was joking around. It's one of my favorite movies, Dirty Dancing, obviously. And he goes, yeah. So when we didn't have room, there were people in front and back of us, but he picked me up and he was like, "There's your lift, girl." And I was like,
Okay, look out. That's amazing. It's amazing.
That was so much fun though. It was a great experience, and I have such a great support system. And with you guys out there, I'm happy to talk to you guys, because I was so nervous about my live feed because of everything that's pros and cons, like the mean people, the nice people, the people who are just neutral and like, it's a show, you're struggling. I get it. I respect you. Cool. It's very hard, and you guys make it so much more easier. And I'm looking forward to seeing the other survivalists have this Zoomie as well, because I know probably I'm most likely EJ is going to do it next. I'm taking a guess, but I know Dan would probably do it. Was everybody? It's going to be great. And the one thing I will tell you is I did miss your question, Savannah. Earlier you mentioned, what did I think? I think you mentioned, how do I feel about when I heard everybody was tapping out? Like, what was my response to that? When Jeff came, we didn't know people were leaving. We don't know anything. And then when Jeff comes, he's like, yeah, you guys lost like 90% of your people. We're like, what? We had no idea. So watching it was really sad on TV, because I saw Kayla leave, and I really like Kayla. She is super chill, an amazing knife maker. I was like, I wanted to be on Kayla's team, and she left, and it broke my heart. I was so sad. So it was watching people leaving. Gary, his eyes, I was like, are you kidding me? That's why that tree was there. And that's why it was knocked down at eye level, and it didn't make sense. And that's when it all kind of came together. So it was shocking for me. Sorry about that, Savannah. It just hit me when I.
No, yeah, thank you for answering. And even Lisa and Tim, I was really surprised when they left too.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, they're like ride or dies. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, what? I didn't understand. Like, I thought it's a really strong mental game, this whole thing. If you can get past 3 days of bug bites destroying your skin, you can get through anything. And they were rough. They were really rough. So bad. When we got our nets, I was like, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, are you kidding me? You're giving us this legal? So it was great. We couldn't use our nets for anything else but for sleeping. We wanted to deconstruct some of it, catch fish with it. And they were like, no, you can only use it to sleep.
Well, Amber, when's your next episode coming?
I can't say when, but I will say that I will be off the grid, and you'll notice it when I'm off the grid, because I'll be like, I'm going off the grid. But it usually takes about anywhere from 6 months to a year to air from filming. So if I come back alive, I'll be back on and be like, hey guys. So it should be good. But well, I appreciate all you guys here, and thank you so much for this opportunity to meet you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. And it's so nice and refreshing to hear questions and your perception of what you guys seen too. And if you have questions, just write me. I love answering them if you missed anything or think of something else. And when you see a negative comment, don't even worry about responding. It's not even worth our time. It's like, it's just not. You'll feel better just be looking at them like, really? Because now you got a chance to meet me, and now you get a chance to meet the other survivalists. That's what it's about.
That's amazing. It's been
well, thank
amazing.
you so much, Amber, and you're a legend, and God bless you, and thanks for the entertainment and the courage and everything you've done, and it's awesome.
Thank you guys so much. And if I do decide to move forward with the mom-daughter thing, I would love to invite people from the page to come out and try it, to do my test run.
Funny. Right when we muted, Justin was like,
oh yeah, these
do your 30
yes,
days.
yes,
Sign
I
up,
would
Mom.
love to
Sign
see
up.
you guys. I see these girls on here right now, 2 of you, and I'm like, I would love to have you and your moms come out for 3 days. We'll go out in the wild. We'll hike in. We will bring the minimal supplies, wearing clothes, and we will build shelters. We will build fires. We will catch a fish, clean it and cook it, and we'll boil water. And this will give you more of confidence that you do anything, especially with mom there too. It's a great experience.
Yep, we're in.
We're in.
Well, thank you guys, and Stephanie, thank you so much. And Matt, thank you for doing all this work. I appreciate you more than anything. And this is going to be fun to watch it. We get to talk now, but actually hearing it unfold is really great. So make sure you guys leave yourself your own comment on there. That would be fun. So thank you, Stephanie. And I'm going to get off here, but I will keep you guys updated on the training and yeah, thank you for everything, guys.